Second. Okay. Hello and welcome back to Lombardi Sweep. My name is Zach Bruner. With me, as always, is Trevor Land and Luke Reimer. Before we get to the Packers talk, I have something that I witnessed today, and it's been in my mind since I saw it, and I don't know if it's like a common thing. So I was driving home in my city, and coming down the hill, someone was riding a motorized unicycle. Are those a thing now? Like legit
Yes.
unicycle. He was just like on it, and it was perfect because I was at the stoplight, and I was next to motorcycles, and even they were like shaking their head, like this guy's a fucking idiot. Like what is going on? It was. Have you guys seen those? Those are insane.
Yeah, they had one at Platteville. One guy had them, but then it must have broke because he just rode it to class, which I would assume riding a unicycle to class up a hill would be harder work than actually just walking. But no, hey, those things can get pretty fast too.
So I'm happy you brought that up because I was driving home from work today and I saw a pickup truck, but it didn't have like the bed in it. It was just like the cab, 3 wheels. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? The thing was like I was bigger than the thing. And an old guy with glasses, I bet he couldn't even see, was like flying all over the road in it.
It's summer in Wisconsin. All the crazies are coming out. I don't know. Right. I don't get it, man. Like he was coming down. It was a steep hill, and he was like had his arm sticking out because he was gonna turn. And I didn't know what. I thought he was on a bike at first. Yeah, he was whipping. He was going.
On the topic of that, I recently found on Amazon a motorized cooler that I am looking at purchasing. It goes about 15 miles, or probably 10 to 15 miles per hour. You can load it up with beer and just drive around the neighborhood. I mean, I think it'd be perfect to bring it to a Packer game to drive around tailgates.
Is there a seat, or do you sit on like the cover?
You sit like on the cover, and there's like a backrest on the cover, and it kind of just flips up like a normal cooler.
I'm kind of into it. Like,
right.
I'm surprised I didn't see it on Shark Tank or something.
Right.
Genius.
So if you are that guy riding a motorized unicycle in Eau Claire, just know we see you. We see you here at Lombardi Sweep. We see you.
I saw him, and he may not still be alive because people were driving aggressive. Like they were pissed off that he was riding it, so they were getting closer. I feel like. I don't know. It was wild. I hope I see him again. I'm going to be keeping my eye out. I will get video because this thing is weird. But anyways, I guess we should talk about Packers stuff on this Packers podcast. There was a lot going on this week, aside from just the normal OTA stuff. Not sure if you guys heard Aaron Rodgers is upset with the organization. There's been a little bit of drama going on, and there really hasn't been any updates except for he did the Sports Center with Kenny Mayne. No new stuff came out of it, but people are acting like there is. He basically said, love the fans, love the city, love the teammates, love the coaches. Oh, who did he not point out? Oh, it must be the front office. No shit. And then he talked about it's the culture. Basically, the Packers way, I guess you could say, is not treating the players as people. There's clearly a lack of respect there, as we have been saying the whole time. Hey, maybe it's not about his current contract. No crap. Hey, maybe it's not about just Jordan Love. No crap. Like, it's just the stuff we continue to say, and people are acting like, oh, this is new. Wow. I don't know.
It's about the people, a philosophy about the people.
Yeah. Like, it's not hard to figure out. Like, it's so stupid. Do you guys have any thoughts? Like, was there anything enlightening that you thought about his Sports Center interview or whatever?
I thought the best part of the interview was when Kenny Mayne told him to fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than that, nothing really stands out, just the people, like you hit it all on the head, Zach. I don't know. Maybe I'm digging a little too deep. He seemed like he was in a good, happy spot. Obviously, he didn't want to talk about the Packers, but when Kenny Mayne brought it up, he wasn't, didn't get all uncomfortable or anything. So I don't know if that's digging too deep, but I mean, that pointed out a good sign to me.
Contract questions or not, I think it's impressive, and I hope we all get to the point in life where, like Aaron Rodgers, we can see $500,000 on the table and just say, nah, I'll just stay in Hawaii instead. And like you said, Luke, he's not, bashing the Packers. There's, I don't see where he goes. I think he comes back, and we're going to be talking about it indirectly more tonight. But something's going to happen sooner rather than later. It just keeps building. Something's going to happen. It's just a matter of what.
Hopefully it's a big change in the front office, but we know that's not going to happen. I'm sure he'll come back at training camp. They'll just go into the season as is. And, hey, 2022, we get to run it back with the same drama. That could be fun. That's basically what happened last year. It's not like any of this is new. It is what it is at this point. And the $500K is a lot easier to turn down, I will say, if you also made, $12 million for just because the Packers were incompetent and didn't push it down the road. Like he made that in March for no reason. So he's fine donating $500K back, I think. What a good guy. And we'll talk about somebody else who passed on $500K as well, because I think that is really getting slept on. But first, we can talk about someone who created $2.5 million in space, Trevor's favorite player, Dean Lowry. They restructured his contract. Roughly $2.5 million in space gets freed up. Why did the Packers wait this long to do it, you may ask? And I would say, hey, I don't think Gutekunst even understood what was going on. I think someone just brought it up to him, because it makes no sense to restructure it now when you could have restructured it a while ago. And, maybe we could have signed somebody with $2.5 million that was available. Maybe we could have, I don't know, Jamal Williams is worth the same exact amount. We could have just kept him. That would have been a wild thing to do. I don't know. Like, Trevor, I know you got thoughts on this. Talk about your favorite Northwestern alum.
Yeah, we talked about it a while ago. Restructuring him was smart. It was the thing to do. It was the thing to do 2 months ago. I just listed off, I just got a list here of some players we could have signed if you combined King's money and Lowry's. Granted, some of them aren't great, but compared to Kevin King and free money, Uwuzie Darby, Desmond King, Jonathan Hankins, which is Lowry's money alone, PJ Williams, AJ Bouye, Malcolm Butler, Ryan Kerrigan, Stephon Weatherly, Tyson Alulu, Lane Taylor, and one of the big names, John Ross, who not a great receiver, but guess what? He returned in college and he was good at it. And our returner right now has 8 career returns in the NFL for 18 yards. So we just basically are sitting on this money. It makes no sense. It kind of goes back to, we have 5 spots, we filled 3. Why are you not making the most of it? If you're really all in, should you not be making the most of all of it? It's concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is concerning. Spots are there for a reason, to fill spots. To not fill spots is just, it doesn't make sense. I'll say that. It's funny to me that right after, obviously the speculation, whatever, doesn't mean anything, whatever, that Dean Lowry is restructuring his deal so Julio Jones is going to land in Green Bay, right? I think it's very funny, and I think it'll be funny to see how every team is going to restructure a contract now that Shannon Sharp blew the load on Julio Jones wanting out of Atlanta.
Yeah, basically any roster move that happens over the next, from now until June 1st, I guess, the next week, people are going to be like, oh, we're making a play for Julio. Julio's coming to town. Man, I mean, I'm sure whatever Julio deal there is, it's pretty much already done. And I can take a wild guess and say the Packers aren't going to trade for him, but who knows? Maybe we'll trade Rodgers for him straight up. That would be fun. That'd be a good time. I had a point to make and I don't even remember what it was. That's fine. There's a lot of good players you listed off, Trevor. It would have been nice to have some of them. It's possible the Packers are freeing this money for a veteran linebacker. There's some that are still available that I like, and at the very least fill roles. And we can get into linebackers in a little bit, but inside linebacker is still incredibly thin, and the starting level talent is also iffy at best. So we went into, I need to stop going on rants, but we went into the offseason with Gutekunst saying inside linebacker is extremely thin. We need to make a lot of moves there. And the only moves that happened was we cut Christian Kirksey and we drafted a linebacker in the 6th or 7th round that's not capable of playing in the NFL at the linebacker's position. That's the way we solidified the inside linebacker position. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. And it's still very much a position of need, which is something you shouldn't be saying heading or in the middle of OTAs now. It's frustrating. You're muted.
There we go. I was muted. I'm glad you brought the draft into it because I feel like a lot of Packer fans that love Gutekunst, that like Gutekunst, that don't think he's that bad at his job, they're not understanding that all this ties together. The drafting a guy who can't play makes these free agent decisions and clearing the cap all that more important. So if you miss one, you can't miss the other, and he's missed both, and he's missed both badly. We talked about it, that McDuffie, whatever, he's like you said, he's undersized. Dylan Moses, again, a lot of injury concerns, but at least he can play the position. So, if you're not going to get anything done free agency-wise, well, at least get somebody that can do it. It seems like no matter what he does, he makes a mistake and then doubles down. And it's mystifying to me that this is not more obvious. It's quite sad, to be honest.
Yeah. Sorry, Trevor. I kind of missed what you said there. As I'm sitting out here, a chipmunk just ran right in front of me, and that kind of diverted my attention. But I heard I got it about the draft. Missing on players here and there, and then waiting until the 6th round to take a position of need. That you need someone to start at. I mean, we've hammered this for how many weeks now since the draft and before the draft, that it didn't seem like the Packers took positions of need for, that can immediately start in the draft, reach on a lot of picks. It does make sense to, like Zach, you alluded to go out and grab a veteran linebacker. Like you said, there's not much that can start right away, but I'm under the mindset that you might as well grab one of them and at least bring them in for, training camp, whatever, run them a couple of weeks. Because I don't know if you can get, like I've been saying it forever, linebackers a need since, AJ Hogg, Nick Barnett, whatever left. You need to start taking chances on players who maybe not are, the sexy pick. But I know there's not really anywhere to go other than up, I think, than if you try to take a chance on a linebacker.
I think the veteran inside linebacker now, and I can use this as a segue, the veteran inside linebacker in the Packers linebacking core inside is Oren Burks.
Yeah.
That's the guy. And this is a guy who sucks. He doesn't belong in the NFL. But news came out today. Well, kind of. I mean, we saw him take some snaps. Must have been Monday. Or what day is it? Tuesday. We saw him take snaps. Oren Burks is an inside linebacker again. Second verse, same as the first. It's basically, hey, it didn't work last time. You know what we should do? Let's try her again. I mean, hey, can't be worse than nobody since we have nobody else to back people up. And they talked to linebacker coach today. They interviewed all the assistant coaches on the defense. And he essentially said he alluded to Oren Burks not having any plans to playing like on game day. Like it just sounded like he's a good practice guy, which fine, whatever. But obviously he was a safety in college, played a little bit of linebacker in college. This was during the period where the Packers loved drafting people out of position and trying to convert them. Also, Demarius Randall, other people like that. So we drafted him, tried to make him an inside linebacker, too small, not enough length, not strong enough, got absolutely obliterated. Last season, he tried to play outside linebacker. He just wasn't on the field at all. He's definitely more fit for outside linebacker, at least in a 4-3 system. We didn't run a 4-3 system. So now we're kind of in a hybrid 4-3-3-4. We're moving him back inside. If any team wants to run at him, they're going to get 8 yards per carry. And then on top of that now, Packers want to move Jair Alexander inside as well. So can you imagine a box with Jair Alexander and Oren Burks loading up for the run defense? Because it's going to be pathetic. Dalvin Cook's going to look like a power runner. He's going to look like Derrick Henry and just truck them. It's going to be pathetic. But essentially right now, I think the Packers have 4 inside linebackers, and Oren Burks is one of them. Right now, it's Kamal Martin. Chris Barnes has been running with the ones, so he's the other starter. And then it's Ty Summers, who has been fine. He's a decent guy. He's a good rotational piece. He's definitely not a starter. And then there's Oren Burks. So again, inside linebacker is a gigantic need. It's the same exact need that we had, I was going to say before the offseason, but it's the same need we had since AJ Hawk. Like, it's the same exact need. We need to bring in a veteran at the very least to play 5 downs per game and to provide some sort of veteran leadership. I understand that you can hide a lot of weaknesses there, but we don't even have bodies. And it's concerning. If one of our starters goes down hurt, we're fucked.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up. That's what I was going to talk about. The Packers are historically one of the least durable teams in the NFL. Kamal Martin has already torn his knee, I think, and he's not even, 25? So that's not very good. And to your point, you need bodies. We're not even talking about capable inside linebackers now. We don't even have inside linebackers at all. That is terrible. If you can't even get bodies to play a position in the goddamn NFL, what are you doing? I mean, we're not even talking about capable bodies. We're talking about just people who can stand there and look decent, I guess.
I'm wondering if they're highly expecting Adrian Amos to be, an incredible run support safety. Because if Zach, what you mentioned there with Oren Burks and Jair Alexander in the box, Adrian Amos is just going to have to make 25 tackles a game, and he's going to be injured by week 4, and then we're going to be out Adrian Amos for the rest of the year. So if that's the plan they're going with, that's what I'm worried about. I know Adrian Amos, I love him, he's great in run support, but you need more than just Adrian Amos to take on Dalvin Cook.
And speaking of Amos, who I think we all agree he's very good. I think he'd be more fit for being a box safety linebacker hybrid than Jair. He'd be more fit to play the run than most of everybody else that they're trying to play there. It's a lot easier to get someone who can cover back half, just to make sure no one gets over top of him while he comes down. But that seems like something the Packers aren't willing to do. And really quick, I do have some veteran linebackers available up here that the Packers could, pay a couple million for. Quan Alexander is obviously still available. He's injury prone, but hey, if he's healthy, he's going to be on the field. If he's not healthy, we can, put him on IR. That's fine. Avery Williamson's good. BJ Goodson's fine. Reuben Foster is at least playable. I like Todd Davis quite a bit. I think he can be a solid run stopper and not much else, but he doesn't need to be anything else. Maybe Jack Sitchie. Like, there really isn't a ton, but they're all cheap. And they would all cost about Dean Lowry money. So it would be very, very foolish for the Packers not to do something like this. And I feel like even Gutekunst, I hope even Gutekunst is smart enough to do a move like that, I guess. That's my hope. Let's talk about some more. Well, I guess I should say, when I was talking about Amos, they did do some practice reps on Tuesday with him coming down into the box, being a box safety. That's fine. Like, really, they talked about how there's 5 players right now that they believe can be that star role, that nickel star role. And the hope is Jair Alexander is that guy. Alexander didn't show up to OTAs, probably because of all this crap. Like, I wouldn't want to show up and be meeting linemen in the hole. Like, that's so stupid. He's not built for that position. But yeah, Amos could play it. One person who they're not trying out at it, who would make sense to play there, would be Oren Burks, who was a safety and then now a linebacker, when that makes sense. But no, we're not doing that. One player who they really like there, I believe the linebacker coach likes him there, not Joe Barry, is the rookie, Shamar John Charles. He's been really good in practice already. He's incredibly smart. Coach Mo, special teams coach, really likes him. He's the only one I really care to listen to be completely honest, on the entire staff. He talked about how Mo has that dog mentality. He's the first player he brought up when he talked about the special teams. So I think he's going to be really good. Honestly, the only thing he lacks is like elite athleticism. If he was as fast as Stokes, he would have been a first-round guy. He's just incredibly smart, incredibly good ball skills. He's good enough to play that slot role, I believe. I think he should be the starting slot. I think he should be that star role. I don't think he will be to start the year, but it wouldn't surprise me if week 8, 9, 10, all of a sudden he starts getting more snaps in that role, which would be good for the overall defense if we didn't have to tuck Jair neatly away on the inside.
So basically his player comparison is Micah Hyde, right? Because they play the same position and have nothing else in common.
Yeah, pretty much. That you should be employed as a Packer journalist already.
I should. It's just funny. This podcast honestly isn't good for my mental health, and it's not good for any Packer fans' mental health. Like, you have statistically in the eye test, by far after the playoffs, by far the best cornerback in the league, and you put him in the nickel. Like, it doesn't even make. It's literally like if you give your little brother the controller in your Madden franchise, leave the house, come back, and the whole team is just rookies. That's what our team is right now. Nobody knows what they're doing. We have something good, and we try to change it. I feel like this team is going a million directions at once, and I don't think I have to tell anybody that is a horrible thing to see.
Correct.
I'm going. I want to reverse back to 5 minutes ago when you're talking about Adrian Amos, when you're bringing him, into that role, linebacker safety role, support. Everyone has a reaction, and then you're going to be left out on an island on, Darnell Savage is going to be by himself out there. What are you going to do? Throw Will Redmond out there, or whoever the backup safety is, and that takes precedent. Same thing with Jair Alexander. Bring him into that nickel role. Who are you going to throw out on the side who's just going to get burned, the whole game? And I hope they plan for it. I don't necessarily know if they plan for this, but that definitely needs to be taken into consideration, because you're going to move all pro players to different positions out of positions that they made all pro at. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You want your best players all over the field, but you want them also in positions where they made all pro teams.
That's a good point. Like, not only are the Packers wanting to move Jair to a spot that we think he's not best suited for, he was the best in the entire NFL in this one spot, and we're telling him, that's great. I don't want you to do that again. I want you to learn a new position. And that's so stupid. Like, it makes no sense.
That'd be the same as we talked about in the past about moving Elton Jenkins to center,
At least he's played that position. Like, we're talking about a position he's never even played. It's like, hey, Rodgers, you're so smart. You can read an offense better than anybody. Let's put you at middle linebacker. I bet you know what the offense will do. I bet you could fill a hole. That'd be good. You're smart enough to do it. I've seen you in the squat rack. Let's try her out. It's, really dumb. Really dumb. Let's talk more about another corner, the rookie corner, the first-round rookie corner, Stokes. DB coach Jerry Gray talked today and said some things that I didn't necessarily love. He basically, a reporter asked him about how Stokes would grab and get a bunch of penalties in college, which is true. His reason for it, he said, was he doesn't know how to press or run or regulate his speed, which is why he grabbed a lot in college. And again, this is something not being reported on, and I understand rookies have that problem a lot, being grabby, but we're talking about a first-round rookie, someone who should be NFL ready, and the fact that the Packers drafted him because he was so good in press, and your DB coach is saying specifically he doesn't know how to press, he doesn't know how to regulate his speed, which we talked about on the show before. He has straight-line speed, he has zero quickness, so he got burnt, he would grab, or he would catch up because of his speed. But now we're talking about the NFL. Everybody's fast, everybody's big, everybody's strong. And Gray said that he just needs to build better habits, which is true. But we're talking about if he's on an island week 1 because Jair Alexander's on the inside and Kevin King's on the island on the other side, it doesn't matter if they have Taysom Hill at quarterback. I think Saints are going to burn the hell out of the Packers. It's going to be pretty sad, Trevor.
To your point, that's the one good thing. The one good thing about him as Luke disappears. That's the one good thing about him. And he's not even good at that, which tells me either you did horrible scouting because what? It's been day 4 and you're already telling me he's bad at press, or you knew that and you just didn't care, which makes the reach even worse. I mean, and again, all this goes hand in hand. You lose Dean Lowry's money till after free agency. Now Stokes needs a bigger role than he would because you don't have a cornerback, because you didn't have the money, because you were stupid with contracts. It all goes together. It's quite sad. I feel like I'm going to say this a lot of times this year. This organization sucks. Like, I hate the Packers. I hate them so
Agreed.
much sometimes. It makes no sense. And it's also terrifying that these coaches, they can't even get a story straight together. Like, you draft him and you say it's because of press. 5 days in, your coach for him says he sucks at press. Can you not even get a story straight for the press, please? Just something.
Well, I will say there's a difference because Gutekunst and the person who's running like the player personnel and stuff, they talked about how good he is at press. And his position coach is saying otherwise. And who are you going to trust? The guy who spends 45 minutes spiking his hair up and then pisses off Aaron Rodgers? Or are you going to trust the guy who is a DB coach? Or are you going to trust the Lombardi Sweep podcast? Because as soon as he was drafted, I was talking about how this guy has 0 upper body strength and sucks in press no matter what his passer rating when targeted while pressing says. Like, it's not hard to figure out. The one person he pressed well was Devonte Smith because he's 120 pounds soaking wet. That's it. Like, it's so stupid. Like, they looked at box scores and they drafted their guys. That's all this is. It's frustrating because if no one knows how to break down tape, it makes sense looking at all the draft picks, but it's not hard to figure it out. It's really not.
Sorry guys, I checked out there for a minute. Internet's kind of wacky out here. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cold out today. Don't tell that to TJ Slayton, but it's pretty cold out today. Just to get my 2 cents on Eric Stokes, I apologize if you guys talked about this already, but I just hope that his, he's a speedster, right? We got him because of his speed. I just hope, it seems to me that the press is not going to be there or whatever, and he's going to rely on his speed, right, to make up for not being able to press. That's not going to work against DK Metcalf, against Tyreek Hill, against Justin Jefferson, against these stud receivers that we're gonna play this year. So I'm wondering if after this year everyone's gonna be, oh shit, why the hell did we draft this guy? And I just hope that get that upper body strength this offseason, next offseason, and develop into that guy that the Packers need. And I'm still under the assumption that the Eric Stokes draft pick was a fail-safe for Kevin King if he doesn't work out.
I agree. And they also talked about how Eric Stokes, I think the DB coach talked about, he needs to earn his way onto the team. He needs to earn his spot through special teams, which is not something you say about the day one starter at the outside cornerback position. He's also an old school mentality guy, so everyone needs to earn their spot. So I think you need to take that with a grain of salt a little bit. But even still, I think it speaks a little bit to him. It really, really, really wouldn't surprise me if we go into the season and Stokes is not the starter.
Yeah,
I think that would be most likely. I would guess it would still be Alexander and King at outside corner. And then when they go to nickel, I'm going to guess they're going to shift Alexander inside and Stokes will replace him on the outside. That would be my guess. That's fine. Like, I'm not saying Stokes is a bad player, and I'm also not saying he can't develop into a very good player. I'm saying he's not a very good player this season. He's not a day one starter caliber player, and that's not what you were supposed to draft in the first round. And it's definitely not what you're supposed to draft in the first round when you're in the NFC Championship. Yet we did it 2 years in a row. And it's dumb.
Don't worry, though. We're all in, Zach. We're all in.
Yeah, we're going all in. Like, if we made this team so much better, we signed Joe Fortunato. He was baking Gutekunst's groceries at the Piggly Wiggly and said, "Hey, you want a spot on the Green Bay Packers?" And they brought him in. And one of the reporters did ask about Fortunato today, which made my heart happy. Like, they're like, "What made you guys want to pick him up?" They asked Mo Drayton, and Drayton just said they saw him at some clinic. Like, whatever.
If you pick up the guys bagging groceries, one of them's got to turn into the next Kurt Warner, you would think. So maybe Fortunato is that guy.
He has to be. He has a tight spiral when he's bent over. Maybe get the ball up here high, right above the shoulder. Maybe he's the next quarterback. Maybe he's the next Aaron Rodgers.
He should just throw the ball like he snaps and just throw it from up here and wing it around the field.
Might as well. Have two hands on the ball. It's more secure. He's not going to fumble it. It's going to be good.
And you know what the funny part is that it'd still be better than Jordan Love.
Probably. However, Jordan Love did take some snaps. We got to see him go through some drills. And hey, he threw it in the net, guys. He has clearly progressed. I saw him do it. I saw the tape. And I am now considering him a quarterback, which is good. Not the second stringer. He's very clearly the third. Because, we just cleared $2.5 million to give Blake Bortles an extension already. That's assuming what's going to happen. But Jordan Love got to run the drills. He got to run some 7-on-7, and he was hesitant. He made some good throws, but almost every single throw was a check down, which is what you do when you're an inexperienced quarterback. So we know nothing about him still.
Or Drew Brees.
That timing.
Or Drew Brees.
Also, I think the funniest thing was he threw it in the net with nobody else on the field, basically stationary, 10 yards away, and everybody is acting like, hey, he's here. If that is your definition of mass improvement for a first-round pick for your franchise quarterback, we are so screwed that nothing else that we have talked about to this point matters a lick.
So it's true. Yeah. So to go along with, I know we have our obligatory Blake Bortles talk on the show now. I don't know why the Packers aren't just giving him a lifetime deal like Bill Self at Kansas or Fernando Tatis at the Padres. I mean, I think that's right on the table with Dean Lowry. Just keep taking off Dean Lowry's salary every year to get $2 million more to Blake Bortles for the rest of his career.
That's the way it should work. He should have a seat at the table. He should be on the board of directors. He should be majority owner of the Packers at this point. For what he's done for this city, I can't wait. I can't wait. He also hasn't practiced yet. No one knows why. Supposedly maybe an injury, supposedly maybe learning the offense. I don't know. I'm assuming they just wanted a better look at Jordan Love, to be completely honest, and that is completely fine. That makes a lot of sense. Let's see. Offensive line, we may have a look into what the week one starting offensive line is going to be, since I would assume David Bakhtiari isn't ready for week one because of that ACL tear. So what they did is they moved Elton Jenkins out to left tackle as expected. They did John Runyon at the left guard. Myers has been taking all the first team snaps at center. And then the majority of the time they had Lucas Patrick at right guard and Billy Turner at right tackle. They also brought Royce Newman in with the ones at right guard as well. And if this is the starting offensive line, we really, really, really better hope that Aaron Rodgers is at quarterback, because Aaron Rodgers, as we've talked about on this show and what I wrote about in the offensive line article, the one skill that blows my mind about Rodgers, and it really just isn't talked about very much, is his ability to set up his offensive lineman mid-play. Obviously, he maneuvers the pocket and stuff, but if his offensive linemen are out of place, he'll like juke out the defensive lineman and get his offensive lineman in better position to make the block. And that is very much going to be needed if we have a second-year guy, a rookie, and another rookie as our three interior guys. And not just a second-year guy, rookie, a sixth-rounder, a center who couldn't read defenses very well and whiffed at alarming rates, and Royce Newman, who had possibly the worst pass rush win rate at the Senior Bowl. He also played right tackle last year, wasn't very good at it, was at guard before, wasn't that great at it. That's why they moved him to tackle. It's alarming. It's another alarming thing. It would have been really nice to have Lane Taylor. It would have been really nice to have anybody competent at the guard. Now, when Bakhtiari comes back, it's going to be Bakhtiari, Jenkins, Myers, who still isn't very good, hopefully Lucas Patrick, and then Billy Turner. And that starting 5 offensive line is actually pretty good. I'm not too worried about that one. Again, I don't think Myers is a good enough starter, but as long as he's like sandwiched between experienced players, I think that's fine. But if you put him next to a second-year guy and a rookie, it's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. Defensive linemen are going to run stunts and completely mess with them the entire game. It's going to be, free for all.
Yeah, other than that, too, with the kind of going along with the inexperience, it's just scary having rookies on the offensive line with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Even so, like you said, Zach, how Aaron Rodgers sets up blocks. Aaron Rodgers almost kind of runs around the pocket like you'd be like someone setting a pick for a point guard in basketball. He kind of rubs off of offensive linemen and it works, which is incredible. It's just scary. I assume all three of us have the same thought that Aaron Donald is going to be running stunts on Josh Myers, and come playoff time, it's going to be odd. It's going to be scary, but who knows, man?
I mean, it's bold thinking we're going to make the playoffs because we might not be able to field the team because we might not have a linebacker. It seems like Gutekunst mixed up or forgot the difference between offensive line and linebackers because all this reaching bullshit in the draft, seemingly just getting bodies, seemingly getting people that can do everything, that's what they needed inside linebacker. Like, they don't need a star. Like, they just need bodies at this point. And it's just, I don't know which one is less effective. I will open this question up to you two. Which one, I guess I'll phrase it this way. Which one has a bigger difference between where they think they are and where they actually are? Gutekunst at his job, or owners, in air quotes for those of you who are listening, of the Green Bay Packers that buy stock and are owners? Zach, I know you have a strong feel towards that one.
About like where they perceive where they are and where they actually are, you're saying?
Yeah, for like how good they are.
I don't think Gutekunst believes this is an NFC Championship team. I know that's what he says because he has to. I don't think he's trying for that. And it's very clear with his draft picks. Everybody's a project. Everybody's, 2 to 3 years down the line. So I think last year was a pleasant surprise that we made the NFC Championship. And it's because Aaron Rodgers won MVP. Obviously, he bet against Rodgers, and Rodgers proved him wrong. That's why we're in this mess in the first place. So I don't think Gutekunst is confused about where we are. I think he's just an idiot. Packers owners, Packers fans, a lot of people who view this as a Super Bowl contending team are completely delusional. People who look at what a couple Packers reporters say, look at what Rob Demovsky says in particular, and just says, oh, we filled these needs, we must be good. Oh, we got better in all these areas. I honestly don't know one area outside of maybe wide receiver where we got better this offseason. I guess maybe cornerback, you could argue. But besides those two, we got worse arguably at every other position. So I think the Packers, quote-unquote, owners should sell their stock while they can.
It's great being in Green Bay here. You walk around and everyone's all, oh, I own the Packers. I know what's going on here and there. The thing, like, it's great. It's a niche, obviously, in professional sports. No other professional sports team is owned by a community. It's awesome. But fans here think that they're Robert Kraft, that they're Jerry Jones, that they're Steve Ballmer. It's wild. It's infuriating, and some of these owners have never watched one game of football is part of it as well, and they're just in it for the it's like a toy to them, which is, it kind of sucks, but it's something that's very odd. Obviously, You just mentioned Rob Demovsky, what he talks about. If you bring up Rob Demovsky, I think you have to mention every other Packer reporter because that seems to be where Rob Demovsky gets his information from. But yeah, it's just odd that people think they know so much just listening to one player and then repeating that in their words, like they were the ones who were there reporting at practice.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I was gonna say something else. I don't even remember. I'm done with it. I'm so sick of this team. Oh, I know. I think we need to, if we are going to be the fan-owned team, I think we need to double down on it. I think we need to go full FCF, fan control football. I think we should do a straw poll next season, and the majority of the votes, whoever the votes land on, the popular pick for draft picks, I think that's how we should do our draft. And I believe it would be a better result. Thoughts?
Hey, I did tweet out, put a poll for all Packers owners, Rodgers or Gutekunst, who stays, who leaves, and do that. Because obviously by the time the board gets their head out of their ass, they make the wrong decision anyways. And it's been months. So might as well make it to the fans, put a poll on Twitter. I like it.
Yeah, they do it here. They have some fundraisers going on during Packer games around town here where every time the team scores, like a new fan gets to sit in the chair to win however long that it is. That's how much money they win based on whatever it is. They could do that, but every bad play, someone gets switched out. And you get like two systems going. You vote if that was a good or bad play. Minus yards, get out of there. Plus 5 yards, you're in. That'd be a fun way of doing it.
That'd work too. That honestly would be fine. But yeah, if there was a poll for Rodgers or Gutekunst, I don't think there's any question of who would be the popular pick. We know Gutekunst needs to go. That's Mark Murphy's decision, pretty much solely. The problem is Mark Murphy needs to be fired. Like, that's the issue here. And if he's fired, obviously he's team president for people who don't know. It gets difficult for who names the next president. For Mark Murphy, what they did is they hired an outside search party / committee to hire the president. And if you don't know, teams do that. That's the biggest hack in professional sports. They hire this outside search party where they pay them millions of dollars. They interview people, they hire them. NFL's been doing that for head coaches for the past few years in a lot of cases. And it's pretty much just insurance. If the pick doesn't work out, they point to the committee and say, hey, we didn't make the decision. They did. Like head coaches, Tony Dungy's on it, on like a private committee and stuff. I think that's what they did in Atlanta for that head coach. I think they didn't do it for Jacksonville. That was just Urban Meyer. But that's how the Packers are most likely going to hire their next president again. But again, that's hard to do. That's time consuming. That's something obviously it can't happen now. But to fire him, then they would have to do a committee, millions of dollars, which good luck convincing anyone in Green Bay, the owners, the board, to pay millions of dollars to do that. And then that new president hires the next GM, and that's going to take forever. And yeah, we need an owner. We need an owner to make a decision.
I got it solved. Okay, Zach, you're president. Luke, you're GM. And I can just yell at stupid people at the game. I feel like that's a good win for everybody.
I'm going to throw a wrench in your plan if I'm GM. Johnny Manziel and Josh Gordon will be on the Packers tomorrow.
Fine. That's fine. As long as I can control who else is on the Packers, then sure. Let's talk about some other players, about stuff that happened. We talked about Jordan Love. I just have like a scatter of notes I wrote on my phone here. Amari Rogers. People talked about how smooth he was after the catch. I think that's true. I think he's a solid athlete that's not athletic. Murray Strayton. By the way, if you haven't listened to Coach Mo talk, Murray Strayton, the new special teams coordinator, he was before the Packers. I think immediately before the Packers, he was with the Colts, with Vinatieri and everybody like that. This guy should be a head coach in the NFL now. He should be for sure be a head coach in the NFL someday. He is one of the most intelligent people, I think. I think he's extremely relatable to players. Unbelievable hire by the Packers to promote him. But talking about Amari Rogers, they asked him why is Amari Rogers such a good returner? Which he's not. But they asked him why he's a good returner, and the only thing he said was he catches the ball. And then he talked about him catching the ball for a minute because that's the only thing to say. He said, he's great catching the ball. It makes good adjustments, good angles, good all of that. He never drops it, which is true, which is all we talked about. That's the only reason why he is the punt returner. And then he said it's the punt return's job to get the ball back to the offense. And it sounds like he's really not concerned with anything else, which is fair, which is fine. So his hope for the punt return team is to not fuck up. And if that's the case, and that's fine, but if that's the case, then Amari Rogers is perfect because he won't drop it. I'm pretty confident in that. But if you're trying to flip a field, he is not the guy to do so. And he's also not a kick returner because if he ever brings the ball out of the end zone, he is not getting to the 25 because he's too slow. Like you might as well knee it. You might as well not have 11 guys on the field because it serves the same purpose.
It's funny that you say he's smooth after the catch. Yeah, he's an NFL player. These are the best of the best. He's a third-round pick. I sure damn hope he's smooth after the catch. And I would be happy if it's, have him on punch just so that nothing bad happens. At the same time, that would be horrible because the Packer fans who say he's Randall Cobb would be so toxic because they think that makes him right when they're really too stupid to realize Randall Cobb could run 10 yards without getting touched. It's crazy, but he could, which is unfortunate because that keeps compounding. People keep liking Gutekunst. Gutekunst still has a job. This team continues to run into a shithole.
Kind of going off what you said, Zach, while he's alluding to the fact that the punt return team, all they want to do is catch the ball and don't screw up. I feel like there's no need to have blockers on the field for it. Just leave him out there on an island and have him catch the ball because he's not going to drop the ball.
Well, let's just surround him with like 5 guys to form a nice circle too. They can all link arms and then just don't let any of the other people in. So make sure even if he does drop it, we can all just fall on it. I think that would be good too. I think if Coach Mo is listening, by the way, Coach Mo, your biggest fan. I do love you. I think we do a rookie tandem back there for punts. So we get Amari Rogers to catch it because that's all he's good for. Then he pitches it to Eric Stokes, who his only good thing is running in a straight line really fast. So pitch it to him, and then he runs. And hey, we might get 5 to a touchdown. That's fine. That's the tandem we need. Same thing for kickoff. Do the same exact strategy. I think it works.
I know we didn't mention it right off the top, but the Packers did sign DeAndre Tompkins, the receiver out of Philadelphia. He had some returning skills at Penn State. Obviously he's not the guy, but I don't know if that signing is for a return. Here I'm thinking every single player that they sign is for a punt return. But this guy did have, I think he's 4th all time at Penn State in punt returns for a touchdown. It's not saying much because he only got 2, but if they trusted him to return punts, maybe that's the Packers' plan here.
It's an upgrade from Amari Rogers, but I would assume the signing was just so Jordan Love had someone to catch his passes, to be completely honest, which is something I didn't bring up yet. And I apologize. That was like the first thing we should have talked about. So the big news out of Packers OTAs was people not showing up. 10 players in total did not show up to OTAs. Let's break it down. 1 was Aaron Rodgers. Surprise, surprise. 2, David Bakhtiari, still recovering from ACL. 0 reason to be there. Almost 0 reason for any offensive lineman to be there, to be completely honest, but he's definitely shouldn't go. The next 5 were the top 5 wide receivers. Coincidental, of course. And then 3 people who, if I told you their names, you wouldn't be able to repeat it 10 seconds later, which is weird why they didn't show up. But Jair Alexander, then 2 others. Jair Alexander didn't show up because he's smart. So we're talking about 5 wide receivers. Obviously, that seems alarming at first. Reporters asked LaFleur, is this a coordinated effort? LaFleur said, no, this wasn't coordinated. And every reporter nodded in unison seemingly and was like, oh, okay, I take your word at 100%. That's definitely true. Is there any chance in hell, Trevor, you wrote an article on this, so I'll ask you, is there any chance that this was not a coordinated effort and this is seemingly coincidental that the top 5 wide receivers didn't show up along with the quarterback who's in disputes with the team?
There is absolutely zero fucking chance. And it's hilarious that it just comes to a point where either the reporters are so lazy or care so little that they're just like, you know what? Yeah, whatever. He said, yeah. I mean, if it was coordinated, like I said in the article, you really think LaFleur is dumb enough to fucking say that? Like, seriously? Right. Like, oh yeah, on top of all this, our receivers don't want to play football. And Devonte Adams misses. Okay, that's not great, but it's Devonte Adams. The biggest come out of this is Equanimous St. Brown, Devin Funchess, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, because they might not have a spot on the team. And even if they do, they're fighting for a depth chart. They're fighting for who's on the field. So there's absolutely no reason why these guys should not be there. I can't imagine they're stupid enough to not understand that they need to be there to get a spot. So there is no way it's not coincidental. 5 guys at the same position with all that's going on with Aaron Rodgers. It's very obvious. It's sad. Nobody wants to talk about it. But, I kind of alluded to it earlier. Something's going to happen soon because this is not a coincidence. I think everybody in the front office knows it's not a coincidence. And if it gets to Gutekunst versus players and LaFleur, because LaFleur likes Rodgers, he's going to not only lose his job with the Packers, but lose any job in the future in the NFL. So something's going to happen soon. And I hope they do stay out because let's just end it now. Why wait?
Yeah, to me, it seemed like that these receivers aren't going to play without their guy, without Rodgers there, whatever, yada, yada. We mentioned that, they're playing for a roster spot. I think this hurts them not playing, not practicing, because Aaron Rodgers, like he's done so many times over the years, he's turned average players into, great receivers. He turned Robert Tonyan into, 13 touchdowns this year. He had freaking James Jones led the league in receiving touchdowns one year. And you're telling me that was on James Jones? He made Jared Abbrederis and Jeff Janis household names. Like Aaron Rodgers makes these receivers good. These receivers aren't great on their own. They need to show up to practice in case Rodgers isn't there to show them that they can actually play football. Obviously Devonte Adams can play football, but Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he has a tough time playing with Aaron Rodgers. There needs to be rapport built with these backup receivers. EQ needs to play. Devin Funchess hasn't played in 2 years now. Like these guys need to be out there practicing. I know I'm sounding like old man yelling at a cloud, but this is just logical to me that these guys need to be out playing football because some of them haven't played for 2 years.
Yeah, so we're talking about, obviously, we just said Adams doesn't need to be there. Honestly, Valdez-Scantling doesn't need to be there. He's going to make the team. We're talking about they need to be the 6th best wide receiver to even have a chance to make the team. 5 of them sat out. Amari Rogers is there. Rodgers obviously is going to make the team. There's zero doubt about that. EQ, even if he is wide receiver 6, that might not make the team. The Packers, are you expecting them to keep 6 wide receivers? Because I'm already telling you they're going to keep probably 4 tight ends with the way they run things. So that's a lot of roster spots right there. It's a risk for EQ, especially. His biggest thing, he was a raw talent out of college, out of Notre Dame, hasn't really developed because he's always been hurt, hasn't had the off seasons to refine his skills, to work with coaches to get better. And right now, I believe he's healthy and he could be there working. So do you think they just forgot? Maybe they didn't get the text that OTAs was this week? Or do you think maybe it was a coordinated effort by the top 5 guys for Aaron Rodgers to not show? And maybe it was also a coordinated effort with the top defensive player on their team, one of the top defensive players in the entire league, to also not show, which Alexander not being there. It's possible. And people are talking about, oh, Aaron Rodgers left $500K on the table. Must be nice. That's the reaction to it. Devonte Adams also lost out on $500K. He also had the $500K workout bonus. I don't know many wide receivers that give up $500K, like ever. If they give up $500K, it's because they're holding out for another contract. Devontae's contract's up pretty soon. He needs an extension. He damn sure needs $500K. Like, that's a lot of money. He didn't just pass on $500K without making a statement about something, without some sort of motive, without an agenda. And I would assume Devonte Adams is being a good teammate. He's being the best friend that I wish I had, giving up a $500,000 just to say, hey, I want you to respect my friend Aaron Rodgers, my boy, the guy who made me a household name, because that's what's going on here. There's 0% chance that this is all coincidental. Period.
Not to mention that Adams is the personality of a guy that works hard. Like, this dude did not come into the league as a diva, and he never has been. He's never changed. He's a hardworking guy. When was the last time you saw one of those guys leave, $500,000 on the bench just because they didn't want to work out? Highly doubt.
I was going to say, just to wrap it up here, that it's not great when you have 3 top 25, maybe top 15 players in the league not show up to OTAs.
Not good. You are correct. I mean, some teams don't have people on the door at all, but for a team that's been knocking on the door of a Super Bowl, they just need to get over the hump. Now is the time to put in work, to put in special packages to use to break out in January. And right now, we have a quarterback learning the position, running 7-on-7s. That's about it. And we also have the player who the defensive coordinator is desperately wanting to be the star role, to be the center role on the defense in Jair Alexander, also not there. So most important people on each side of the field, not there. Good for us. That's a good thing. Any other things to say about the wide receivers, the Aaron Rodgers situation, etc.?
If you still believe Aaron Rodgers is the problem, look at how this is all connected and use your brain for once. Like, I don't hate to be that guy. Who am I kidding? But like, it's right there. All you have to do is want to see it. I truly feel that's what it is now. It's easier to say Rodgers is a prima donna than you have a serious problem in your front office and you made a mistake. As the same as people on Twitter making bad comparisons. Sometimes you need to just admit that you were wrong and you need to move on, because if not, it'll compound and compound and compound, and we will be the next Cincinnati Bengals or Cleveland Browns of like 5 years ago.
Agreed. Only other thing I'll talk about here, and if you guys aren't familiar with Coach Maurice Drayton, Coach Mo, I really do recommend just putting on an interview with him. I mean, the one from today was good. Just listening to him talk. I really, really like him, and I hope he takes over to be head coach of the Green Bay Packers someday, because I think he would be a better head coach for sure. By the way, I think special teams coordinators, best candidates for head coach by a long shot. I would say I would rank it special teams defensive coordinator, then offensive coordinator for many, many, many reasons. But Coach Mo's good. Obviously, special teams, I would say, was the biggest weakness on the entire Packers last year. And obviously, his promotion, he's going to be tasked with changing a lot of things. And he broke it down really simply, and I think that's the best way to go about punt return or punt coverage, kick coverage, stuff like that. Obviously, the Packers gave up, I believe, 2 punt returns last year for touchdowns. He talked about how the football field's a rectangle, and he is going to teach people, weird concept, I know, angles, like pursuit angles to people, cutting people off, making tackles. I think that's really good. Same thing with kickoffs. That's just something we didn't do. We just chased people. We all tried to be DK Metcalf chasing after Buda Baker last year. That was our way of punt coverage. But he's talking about cutting people off, stuff like that. Everyone's going to know their role, be smart players. The returners are returning players, not returners. Returning players are going to be in essentially special teams 301 classes, while the newbies are in 101, 102. People are going to actually know moves, how to get off of blocks, stuff like that. And I think he did a really good job with the answer, especially answering stupid questions. And I have a lot of confidence that the special teams is going to be a lot better this year. And it comes down to putting people in the right spots. So it comes down to personnel as well. But I actually believe this draft was a really good special teams draft. I know that's not what the goal was supposed to be, but I think it is. Like people like McDuffie, I think is going to be very good for special teams. But he basically, like his line, I believe, was our players are going to be able to play with as much speed as the Lord is giving us. People are just going to know their role and run full steam ahead and blow the shit out of people. It's going to be good. I don't know if you guys have heard much about Coach Mo or heard him talk, but definitely go listen to him. But any thoughts on the special teams?
Just to your point about special teams being, one of the top spots for coach, the top spot for coach. I mentioned it on the show last week when I was talking about the Ravens, but Harbaugh made a career off of being a special teams coach and making, turning the Ravens into one of the better teams in the NFL. Obviously, it worked. He got a Super Bowl, but other than that, it's been up and down. But the Ravens have always been at the top, and I think that is because of their special teams. And Bill Belichick, how many times has he harped that special teams is the key focus? Like special teams is the forgotten part of football, but it's almost in a way the most important part of football.
100%. It's field changing. You switch the field. It's a third of football, and it's never, ever, ever, ever talked about. But a flag on special teams is crippling, especially on the returners. Like if there's a holding call on punt return, all of a sudden you're backed up at the 10. That gives you, like, if you want to be one of the analytics people, I believe it's like a 70% greater chance that it's a 3 and out just because of that flag. So it's the difference between flipping the field completely, being backed up within your own 10. Special teams is so incredibly important, and it's not that complex. But when it's bad, it's really bad. And we saw that with the Packers last year, obviously.
Yeah, even on Pete Carroll on his side, as much as I hate him, he's kind of made a name in special teams here. He always brings in those, fake reverses. I mean, they brought the Packers back in the 2014 NFC Championship, brought the Seahawks back against the Packers 2014 NFC Championship on that fake field goal. Like, this is a huge part of the game. Zach, you mentioned it's 1/3 of the game. It's basically, when you're punting, it's basically, a defense plus another defense when your defense comes out onto the field. And that's why, I tweeted out earlier, but my favorite plays in football are when teams down the punt at the 1 yard line. That's just so freaking cool. But that plays such a big role in how football is played, just based on what you can do defensively.
It's massive. Again, look at the NFC Championship. I believe Buccaneers had the ball like in Packers territory to start the drives ton. I think the average starting field position for the Buccaneers was like the 40-something yard line, which is pathetic, whereas the Packers was 20-something. It's a massive deal. If you're starting at midfield, if you're starting at the 40, you gain 20 yards and you're all of a sudden in field goal position. It's huge. It's really, really big, and it's just glossed over.
Right. And then obviously that plays hand in hand with teams that are considered bad defense or give up the most points as a team with the shitty special teams,
100%. 100%. To take us out of here, Luke, do you have anything for us to close on?
Yeah, I did have a question, just kind of a hypothetical question. Sorry, Trevor, I'm kind of taking your role here and asking the question. But so hypothetical situation, we're dismantling the Packers. You get you get to choose 3 players from the NFC North, not that are current Packers. So no current Packers, but 3 players from the NFC North that you want to build a new franchise around.
And I don't get to keep any of the Packers, you're saying?
Can't have any current Packers.
Oh, okay. Not a quarterback. Trevor, if you don't have an answer, I guess I can start. Okay, so I would probably go Justin Jefferson for sure. I think he's very clearly the best young receiver in the division. Edge rushing is pretty important. I'd probably go Khalil Mack. even though he had a down year. And then, I don't like the quarterbacks. Even Justin Fields, I'm not in love with. So I would probably go Penei Sewell, rookie tackle that the Lions just drafted.
Those three players are the exact players I thought of, Zach. The ones that I was debating on was Penei Sewell, Harrison Smith, or a quarterback. But like you said, quarterback's not great. I think, as much as I love him, but I think the best option would be Jared Goff at this point. And I don't know if Jared Goff is the one you want to lead a rebuilding team.
I thought about Harrison Smith as well. I was just thinking, long term, obviously.
Yeah, I'm going Sewell for one of them. I think for my second player, if he can stay on the field, I'd go Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, that's good.
Boy, the third pick is tough.
The other one that came to my mind is, maybe because I harp on it so much with linebackers, was Roquan Smith came to my mind.
Roquan's good.
A little help, but when he's on the field, he's a dog.
Because he's my guy and he's got a cool name, Afitu Melifonwu from the Lions. He's my third.
Okay. Thank God. Okay. But yeah, I think that is interesting. I think, if you haven't paid much attention to the draft classes around the league this year, other than the Packers, I would actually really invite listeners to look at the NFC North draft picks, because I think the Lions, Vikings, and Bears all had really, really good drafts. Not only did they fill needs, I think a lot of them got steals. I think they did a really good job. Obviously, that makes the Packers look worse, but I think there's some really good draft classes this year, and I think the NFC North was near the top, minus the Packers.
I think the only pick that I saw that was questionable was how early the Vikings took Kellen Mond. Outside of that, you look at the Bears, Fields, how far he dropped. Tevin Jenkins in the second is an absolute abomination. That I don't know how that worked. And Sewell, I knew he was good, Zach, but then seeing all your analysis and seeing what this guy looked like, this dude should not have dropped further anywhere past the Bengals, and the Lions scooped him up. And you got to build inside out. So, yeah, they killed it.
Yeah, just to throw two more on top of that, Trevor, you mentioned Melifonwu. It's a piece that I think the Lions can use as they continue to develop into a better team. And I'll throw a shout out to my guy like I do every show, is Bears grabbing Daz Newsome in the sixth round.
For sure. And then I believe Vikings also drafted Darisaw. He's one of the better tackles in the game. And I think the Bears drafted another lineman that I liked. But yeah, man, they did a good job. I do think the Kellen Mond pick was questionable. If they like him, fine. Again, it's just pissing off your quarterback. So at least they didn't do it in the first round, I suppose. I don't think Kellen Mond's worse than Jordan Love, though. So I think they have that going for them. But yeah, if you guys have anything else, let it go. Otherwise, let's get out of here.
I'll just throw a teaser out there for our next show. Is I have a very awesome T-shirt that's in transit right now. It'll be here on Saturday. It's Packer themed. I'll be wearing it on the show on Wednesday.
If it's not a Blake Bortles jersey, nobody wants to see it.
I think it might be better than Blake Bortles jersey.
I don't think that's possible, but I'm going to go a different sport. I'm going to say Bucks and 4, man. Not even losing the game, Bucks and 4.
Yeah.
I hope you're wrong, only because on a different site, I made the bold prediction, and they asked for bold prediction, so I'm expected to be wrong. But I said there wouldn't be a sweep in this entire NBA playoffs. However, I think I'm going to be very wrong. I think the 76ers, first and foremost, are going to sweep the Wizards, because I thought Wizards would win game 1. But yeah, Bucks are looking pretty good.
The Wizards also lost Russell Westbrook today. I don't know if you saw that. So their team is...
Did he get hurt? I saw him leave early.
Yeah. And some fan dumped popcorn on him. Stay classy, Philly.
I saw that.
I'm that fan.
Yeah, you're a Russell Westbrook hater. I like Westbrook. I like him. I think he's okay.
If we're gonna bring up sweeps, we got to mention that I I believe that Dallas is going to sweep the Clippers, and that Clippers are just an abomination franchise and shouldn't even exist. But
if you listen to the Flurry Sports podcast on Monday, we could have told you that. Luke, I'm not sure if you know, we had a coach battle royale, and that's how we would pick. That's how we would pick the NBA Finals winner. And Rick Carlisle, for those, go back and listen. Rick Carlisle is going to beat the tar out of Nate McMillan. And both teams are winning upsets right now in their respective series. I didn't look at the Knicks today. I'm just assuming the Knicks lost because they suck.
No, the Knicks won, so it's tied at 1.
Really?
Yeah.
They were down.
Nate
like
McMillan's
10.
going to come back.
They were down 10, and then Atlanta was like, we'll only score 34 points in the second half. You guys can have this one.
Shit. Did Julius Randle at least do something?
No. People forget that Rick Carlisle is like top 10 in wins in NBA history.
That's fact.
He's also a pilot, apparently. I didn't fact check Jake on that, but I'm just going to assume that's correct. And he's also capable of beating the crap out of any NBA coach currently in the playoffs. People forget. People don't know.
Kind of transitioning back to NFL here. Another pilot who used to be on the Packers, Jimmy Graham. I saw a tweet come up of if Jimmy Graham is Hall of Fame worthy, and I would like to know your guys' opinion on it.
Hell no.
There's 4 tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, with that, I would say no. I think his biggest issue is he was very good for a couple of years, but it was the same exact time as Rob Gronkowski, and obviously he doesn't hold a candle to Gronk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he changed the way the position was played, for sure.
I think Jimmy Graham kind of got fucked too when he went to Seattle and kind of got into that run-first offense. And then destroyed his knee.
That also did it. He also kind of forgot the run. He kind of runs like he's got toothpicks as legs now.
Mm-hmm. Still makes a sick one-handed catch a couple times a year in the end zone in games.
Every once in a while. Hey, broken clocks twice a day. Never know. Hey, if the Bears get down to the red zone more often this year, expect to see the Jimmy Graham package come out. It's just fade to the back of the end zone because Matt Nagy loves his fades. Those aren't from 1990. Let's break them out every time. Let's leave you with that. That's what I'm going to leave you with. We will be back next week. I'm sure there's going to be more Aaron Rodgers drama. Stay tuned. Later.
Peace, guys.